Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, one of the two women indicted in an animal cruelty case in Victoria County was in court today, the latest this afternoon. A woman in San Antonio was fatally hit during a police chase. The person blamed in her death this afternoon. And 3 U.S. soldiers have died in a drone strike near the Jordan-Syria border yesterday. President Biden now vowing to respond to the deadly attack.
We've got some terrific weather for most of this week. I mean, you saw the sunshine today. It's going to be pretty much like that all week long. Is it spring already? We'll be talking about it coming up.
Plus, an investigation is underway in Houston. 2 men are accused of stealing thousands of dollars of life insurance money from the dead. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia has the day off. A man stabbed in a domestic violence incident Saturday is now in stable condition. 25 News Now reporter Adarius McCormick has more on the incident. Adarius?
The Victoria Police Department responded to a domestic violence call Saturday night. The incident ended with one person in a local hospital. VPD officers arrived to the scene in the 1500 block of Crockett Avenue. That's south of Ben Jordan Street and east of Sam Houston Drive. Officers found a 61-year-old man stabbed. Shortly after, the victim was transported with life-threatening injuries to a local hospital. However, this afternoon, police say the man is in stable condition. VPD officers say the woman involved is claiming self-defense. 25 News Now has requested the police report from the incident Saturday night. Visit our websites for any updates on the situation. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233 or 1-800-799-SAFE. Don, back to you.
Adarius, thank you. A Victoria County woman was in court today in an animal cruelty case. A Victoria County grand jury indicted 42-year-old Carissa Salinas last April on 11 counts of animal cruelty. Salinas is expected in court April 2nd, and a trial date is set for May 29th. 55-year-old Terry Ellis is a co-defendant in the case. She's scheduled for court February 23rd. Ellis was ill and could not make her last court date in November. Current court records for the February 23rd court hearing show a note that Ellis remains ill. The incident in question happened on December 16, 2022. Right now, there is no limit on the number of domestic animals a household can keep within the city of Victoria. Here's your viewer poll this afternoon. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. And here's the question. Should Victoria have a limit on the number of animals a household can keep? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we'll have an update on 25 News Now at 6. Just before 1 p.m., Victoria Animal Care Services responded to a dog bite at the Days Inn in the 6200 block of Dairy Road. The dog is under home quarantine now, and the person hurt was treated at a local hospital. The person hurt works in housekeeping at the Days Inn.
The dogs were not on a leash, and they were let out of the room to go to the restroom, and the housekeeper came around the corner a little too fast, spooked the dog, and the dog bit her.
Animal Care Services says the dog had pups and the dog belonged to someone staying at the Days Inn who was recently displaced by a fire. Jennifer Garza says the dog owner has agreed to pay medical bills associated with the attack. A suspect in a shooting in Bloomington last October is now free on bond. 17-year-old Zachary Gonzalez had been in the Victoria County Jail since October on no bond. Last Thursday, Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 Robert Whitaker changed Gonzalez's bond to a $5,000 pre-trial services bond. Since then, Gonzalez bonded out of jail. He is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The case remains under investigation. The National Weather Service has these river flood warnings posted for the crossroads. 2 river flood warnings for Victoria County are in effect. A warning until this evening for the Guadalupe River at Victoria. At 12:15 p.m. today, the river was at 25 feet. Flood stage is 21 feet. A river flood warning for Victoria and Calhoun counties is in effect until early Thursday morning for the Guadalupe River near Bloomington. At 9 o'clock a.m. today, the river was at at 26.7 feet. Flood stage is 20 feet. Now let's take a first look at your first warned storm team forecast. Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez joins us now with a look at what's going on outside. You know, Mac, we had a whole bunch of river flood warnings on Friday.
Yep.
Now we're down to 2. That's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a real good sign. As a matter of fact, you probably, for near the river, you saw the elevated level, but a lot of that's now peaking. It's going down, and now we've got dry weather, so there's no additional complications on this. Got a beautiful day, lots of sunshine. I hope you enjoyed that Sunday. That was pretty special. Well, for the next couple of days, we've got absolutely almost spring-like weather. Temperatures in the 70s. I'll have more details on that coming up a little bit later on. Don, back to you.
Mac, thank you. President Biden says the U.S. will respond after a drone strike killed 3 American soldiers near the Jordan-Syria border yesterday. The soldiers killed have been identified as Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and Specialist Brianna Moffett. Multiple other U.S. service members were hurt. This marks the first time U.S. troops have died at enemy hands since the war in Gaza started. Leaders say Iran-backed terrorists likely launched the attack, and now lawmakers are calling for strikes against Iran. They have denied any role in the attack. In San Antonio, a patrol car fatally struck and killed a woman during a carjacking pursuit. The carjacking took place Friday night. A couple said 2 men had held them at gunpoint, demanding a purse and their car. Police tracked the stolen car with GPS, but when the driver failed to stop, a pursuit began. It was during the chase when an officer hit a woman in the street with a patrol unit, killing her. However, the person charged with her murder was the suspected carjacker, a 17-year-old. San Antonio police have not named the officer who hit the woman, as the investigation is still ongoing. In Houston, 2 men are accused of posing as funeral directors to steal thousands of dollars of life insurance money. And here's more on the scheme.
My son got killed, and for him to come and take advantage of us, that's not right.
Anita Thomas is one.
I have never heard of anybody doing this, but this man needs to be buried under the jail.
Shadimis Hicks is another, both united in grief, but caught in a scheme.
It turns my stomach because you're dealing with people at the most vulnerable time of their lives.
Investigators from Harris County Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen's office arrested 26-year-old Javon Major and 38-year-old Sandy Broussard, him for forgery and her for theft, after a tip from the Texas Funeral Commission. He posed as a licensed funeral director and mortician, investigators say. The pair forged signatures of beneficiaries and got life insurance money of dead people.
Funerals were supposed to take place, and there would be no funeral. Embalming was supposed to take place on some of these family members, and it didn't happen.
When I walked in and I looked at my son, his body was bloated. He was dark.
This victim says Major didn't embalm her son properly.
I had to run out to church because I couldn't deal with the smell.
And she still doesn't know if the ashes she's wearing are her own son's. In some cases, Rosen says Major would reach out to families.
When I say this man is a good talker, he can talk you down.
Claiming to be friends with the deceased. In others,
He got a suit on. He looking real nice. You know, he like, oh, this is my business card. Like, he got it all planned out just like a scammer does.
no matter how he did it, these alleged victims haven't been able to grieve appropriately and say he must be stopped.
I don't know. I cry. I can't believe it. And I just feel like if justice not served, then we've been failed.
Records show the suspects are now out on bond, but the constable's office says this is an ongoing investigation. Early voting for City of Victoria Mayor is open tonight through 7. Early voting is at the Dr. Patty Dodson Public Health Center, 2805 North Navarro, Classroom A. The last day of early voting is tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On the ballot, Peter Brown, Carissa Winters, Josephine Solis, Dwayne Crocker, Jacob Sauceda, and Bob Constantine. Join us this Saturday for complete coverage of the special mayoral election. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Stay with us. A South Carolina judge is reviewing convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh's appeal for a retrial. That's straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. Also, experts are urging stargazers to be prepared for this year's solar eclipse. Their advice straight ahead. A South Carolina judge has denied convicted murderer Alex Murdaugh's appeal for a retrial. Murdaugh was found guilty last year of killing his wife and youngest son in June of 2021. His attorneys argued the clerk of court, Rebecca Hill, tampered with the jury. One juror questioned today said comments by Hill during the trial made it seem like Murdaugh was already guilty. But the juror also said pressure from other jurors persuaded her to vote to convict.
Toward the end of the trial, after the President's Day break, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified, the clerk of court, Rebecca Hill, told the jury, quote, not to be fooled, unquote, by the evidence presented by Mr. Murdaugh's attorneys, which I understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testifies.
All 12 jurors said they stand by their guilty verdicts, and all but one said they were not influenced by anything the clerk might have said. The United Nations Relief Agency, UNRWA, is urging donor countries to reconsider cutting funding. The cuts are in response to allegations that 12 staff members were involved in the attacks on October 7th. Israel has documentation of that. So far, 13 countries have suspended funding, including some of its top donors, the United States and Germany. The Netherlands has also suspended funding, at least for now.
These accusations are so serious that we have no other choice than to freeze. We really want clarification from the UN, from UNRWA, how this could have happened, to what the extent of the accusations are, and we need really more information.
The UNRWA has opened an investigation and fired 9 staffers over the allegations. One person who had taken part is now dead, and the organization is clarifying the identities of the remaining 2. The organization is one of the largest employers in Gaza, providing jobs for some 13,000 people. Emotional eating is common in the U.S., and a study published by the National Institutes of Health say it's linked to weight gain over time.
The cravings can come when you're sad or stressed. You want something salty or maybe sweet. The food can bring comfort, but also extra calories.
Emotional eating tends to be very specific. You are hungry for cookies. You are not hungry for anything that somebody would put in front of you.
Psychologist Leslie Heinberg with Cleveland Clinic says when people try to eat feelings away, it's only a temporary fix.
The problem is still there, but people might feel guilty or feel bad about how much they ate or what they ate.
Heinberg says true hunger doesn't go away. It gets worse over time. You may feel shaky or have a grumbling stomach. If you suspect emotional eating, she says to distract yourself for 20 minutes, take a shower, or go for a walk. Do any activity that won't allow you to eat.
If you're still hungry at the end of that 20 minutes, then maybe, identify a healthier snack. But for lots of people, what they find is if they can distract themselves, 20 minutes later, that craving has really passed.
And if you do indulge, Heinberg says, enjoy it. Don't just scarf it down. Eating just a small amount of the food you desire may eliminate the craving. And she says not to beat yourself up about it.
Don't try to make up for it by skipping dinner and then setting yourself to be hungry and irritable later.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
With a little more than 2 months until a much anticipated total solar eclipse crosses much of the country, the excitement is building across North Texas. Experts say now is the time to get prepared. On April 8th, the moon will completely cover the sun. More than 1 million people are expected to travel to North Texas. So now is the time to secure those eclipse glasses that make looking at the sun safe.
Yeah, there's a big business in those glasses. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed the day, and certainly the weekend was spectacular. Right now, we're looking at 68 degrees, very comfortable. We managed to get up to about 71, I believe was a high temperature. There it is. After a rather chilly morning low of 40, we are going to be in very pleasant weather right on through most of this week. So you thought we had a really hard winter last week? We get springtime this week. We'll be talking more about what to expect coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Absolutely gorgeous sunshine today, fairly mild weather. You know, the satellite is on and so is the radar, but there is just not a cloud over us nor much of Texas, as you see right about there. In fact, you'll notice that it's some stormy weather on the west coast and a little bit happening out there on the northeast coast. So let me tell you something. Winter is taking a vacation. As far as we're concerned, I'm thinking it's pretty much over. But for the rest of the country, for the next at least 7 to 10 days, they're going to be in very mild weather, not winter at all, because we have a pattern change. The West Coast is now going to be seeing, remember last year they had like 5 big, huge storms coming in at the same time? Well, that's what they're going to be looking at for the next 2 weeks. And so the West Coast is going to be under rain, wind, and snow, but that is also going to make mild weather for much of us on this side of the Rockies. So it's a big pattern change happening. As far as we've got, the only problem we had over the weekend was the elevated rivers, the Guadalupe here in Victoria. If you drove down south Moody Street down toward the river, you can see how it was out of its banks. But look at this, we're right here. It's already begun to drop, and in a day or so, it'll pretty much be back to bankful. This is the river, Guadalupe, at Bloomington, but you know, it's not in the city, the river. So the good news is that all that lowland area will start draining off in the next day or so, so things are settling down. In fact, we have one, that's the Guadalupe for us, up the Navidad, and of course we've got other rivers for Louisiana and Texas. But as far as we're looking at very quiet weather. Overnight, well, that's currently. Let's go to tonight. There's tomorrow morning at about 45, not as cold, but rather chilly if you're going out with the dog early. But then tomorrow, 68, 70 degrees. You know, today I couldn't decide, am I cold or do I need the air condition? It's just one of those, you're back and forth. So it all depends on where you're standing, I guess. Let's take a look at the big picture. We got Future Tracker. You see some high-level clouds coming in, but that's not going to be any kind of a problem as far as we're concerned. We're looking all the way to Tuesday here, and still we've got minimum of cloud cover, but here's where you see the cloud cover. West Coast, places like Phoenix are going to be flooding by the end of this week. I'm not kidding. This is going to be the look. So high pressure there and high pressure over us. The little front is not the big one. That's going to drop southeast. There is going to be what protects us for a couple of days, and then there it comes. Monstrous West Coast storm coming through the Rockies. It eventually loses a lot of its energy over there, but that's the front that's going to come through here on Saturday with a little bit of rain before it clears out. But for them, it's going to be a big deal. And there you see another one. Oh, now we got a little time. That's storm number 2, and then storm number 3. And boy, I'll tell you, they're going to be in the middle of winter all on the West Coast for about, like I said, about 2 weeks. So that's going to be a big one. Now let's take a look at our local forecast. For those of you in Port Lavaca, gorgeous day coming up. A little cloudy in the morning, but sunshine in the afternoon, and you'll get up to about 70 degrees, about 69, 70 in Cuero. And as I said, we'll be on the sunny side of things all the way till Friday night when a little rain happens, and then Saturday is when we have that 50% chance as that front comes through. That's your 7-day forecast. We do have a QR code. If you scan that, you can put Crossroads Today right on your phone. Here's Don.
Mac, thank you. And coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at your stocks. Plus, the U.S. Energy Department wants to make electric stoves a little more efficient for Americans. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 224 points, the S&P 500 up 37 points, and the Nasdaq up 173 points. Oil down $1.23, closing at $76.78 a barrel. The U.S. Energy Department has released its new energy efficiency standards for stoves and ovens. The Appliance Standards Awareness Project ensures all new versions of smooth-top units use 30% less power than the lowest performing models made now. The DOE says these new standards will save American households roughly $1.6 billion over the next 30 years. The compliance goes into effect in January 2028. Tax season has started today. The IRS will start accepting and processing 2023 federal income tax returns. The deadline for filing for most people is April 15th. However, tax filers in Maine and Massachusetts have until April 17th to file and pay because those states' holiday observance of Patriots' Day and Emancipation Day. People who miss the tax filing deadline will likely face a hefty penalty unless they ask for an extension. Stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, animal rescuers in Arizona had to save a dog after it got stuck in a classic car. And now here's a look at what's coming on World News Tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up tonight, 3 U.S. soldiers killed by an incoming drone. The U.S. says Iranian-backed militants behind it. Tonight, how will the U.S. respond? Also, breaking news, will Alec Murdaugh, the man convicted of killing his own wife and son, get a new trial? What a judge just decided. Next.
Ticket prices for this year's Super Bowl are looking to be the most expensive ever. You can read the full article on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Finally today, a full-grown dog in Arizona had to be rescued after getting stuck in the engine bay of a 1967 Chevy Nova. The 2-year-old mixed breed had chased a cat into the small space of the classic car and could not get back out of the car. The rescuers were able to gently lift the dog, now appropriately named Nova, out of danger. She was taken in to be checked out and was surprisingly unharmed by her adventure. Now she's available for adoption. That is kind of a lucky dog there, because sometimes when you get into little cracks and crevices of these older cars especially,
oh my gosh,
and people don't know how to get you out, and then those nice people got her out.
They called her Nova?
Nova,
because Nova, it doesn't go. She doesn't go. She's
she
stuck.
doesn't go. Oh yeah, she was stuck in there in a 1967 Chevy.
I've been in there trying to do oil changes, and I mean, you can't get your hand. I don't know how they put those things together.
Maybe she should go to the nearest Greyhound bus station. I don't know.
She could take the bus instead of trying to drive like that. Well, folks, we got a beautiful week ahead. Lots of sunshine and very mild weather. Temperature staying in the about 70 degrees pretty much all week long. Next rain chance is on Saturday morning with a frontal system coming through. Not a huge cold front, so not to worry about it. As I was mentioning, for the next almost week and a half, we've got a break from winter. And the question is winter over? Don, what do you think?
March 21st.
Well,
officially.
Officially, yes. I'm gonna say, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, you know, we got that one freeze. I don't think that it's possible, the way I see the weather set up, that we're gonna get any big freeze coming after this. So I'm thinking spring is here, but you can't call it spring. Just not winter.
It's not quite summer.
Well, no ice. That's
No
what
ice.
I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at.
There you go, Meg. Thank you, and thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is next.